Victoria Blue wasn't exactly antisocial, but if she was pressed, she'd have to admit she was at least uninterested in being social. Victoria pulled a thin rawhide chew from a bag in one of the cupboards and tucked it in her back pocket. Dipper immediately sat, attentive but not overly rambunctious, another thing she knew she had to be thankful for. Yorkies weren't known for their calm demeanor, but she'd hit the lottery with Dip. Grabbing her laptop from the marble island, she took her work and her dog and stepped out through the sliding glass door into a screened-in porch, then onto a concrete patio. To her left was her workspace, at least on days like this. Dipper skipped along at her side, eyeing the treat in her pocket as she walked over and set down her things. She handed the rawhide to Dip, who took it gingerly in his jaws and then circled the table a few times before finding what was apparently the perfect spot for snacking. Maybe a ranch would have been wiser, she thought, glancing at the fence around her backyard. A lot more work, and Dip wouldn't be able to run quite so free, but it would at least give her a place she felt like she could relax. A shape moved on the other side of the fence, casting a shadow through the slats and sending misty sprays of water into the air. "Gotta get those flowers, don't you, Nell?" Victoria said under her breath. Victoria closed her laptop, picked up her coffee, looking around for the dog. At some point, he'd apparently given up the rawhide. He was standing over at the corner of the fence, stock still, his attention rapt on something. When the dog ignored her completely, Victoria put down her things and walked over to the fence. Dipper, for his part, was staring right through the corner of the fence, meaning whatever had his attention was happening in Hattie Baker's backyard. What that could be, however, was beyond Victoria. Hattie hadn't even reached 30 yet, and she was enjoying all the things that youth and new money could bring, her favorite of which seemed to be sleeping until at least noon every day. She walked over to the dog and tried to peek through the wooden slats and see what had Dipper so attentive. At first it looked like nothing. Hattie's backyard was empty besides the overflow of pool furniture. The house looked dark, its curtains drawn. Then, just beyond the edge of her little slit of vision, she thought she saw it. Someone was in the pool. Early morning floats weren't exactly Hattie's style, but as she'd been keen to let everyone know, despite the ridiculous size of the pool, it was heated and could be used even on the most frigid Tennessee evening. It's practically a giant hot tub. Victoria almost dismissed it and turned back inside, but something in her brain registered the scene as being off. Just a little wonky, as her dad would have said. And before she realized she was doing it, she'd pulled a chair over and stepped up on it, trying to keep her head low while at least figuring out what exactly was going on in Hattie's yard. The woman always played music when she was out, and she was rarely out alone. And again, it was barely the crack of 10 a.m. Victoria's eyes widened as she took in the pool, and then she quietly, albeit shakily, stepped down from the chair and scooped up her dog. The work could wait. Nell could wait indefinitely. Victoria needed to make a phone call. This was entirely not the thing she was anxious about getting involved in when she'd first moved to the Heights, but it certainly did nothing to cancel out her concerns about being too close to people. Now she'd be involved. There'd be more questions, interviews, gossip. More than anything, gossip. But she thought an anonymous call might at least buy her some time. If nothing else, it would keep the cops from showing up at her door at the same time they did Hattie's. At least she hoped so.